Welcome. This is the Drupal usability meeting for March 6th, 2026. I'm Benji Fisher, sharing my screen and moderating. And also present are Pallavi Singh, Ralph Kohler, and Simo Helston. Thank you all for coming. Um, and just a minute, let me share in the Zoom chat um, a link to my site. Let's see if I move this to the end and then open up the site. You can log in as admin, as usual. And I believe it's this menu, right? That we're talking about.
Correct. Correct.
So the create menu. Um, and the concern is this is the umami demonstration profile. If this were the standard profile, I would have fewer options here. There would be no recipe. There wouldn't be any media enabled. But on a real live site, you could have many, many more things in this menu. And sometimes you'd have name collisions. You might have an article content type and also an article media type. And then you'd need some way of distinguishing them. Is that the main problem, or are there other concerns? Oh, and I should say, the issue we're looking at is grouping or prioritization for items in the Create menu. And for the sake of the recording, the issue number is 3457729. Um, so were there other concerns with that? I don't hear any, so I guess that's the main thing. And here's a screenshot showing things grouped by entity type. So node types or content types come first, and then there's media, video file, audio file, remote video, document and image, user, and other. And uh, and I guess the proposal is one proposal is to group them that way. Um, Another proposal um, uh, is to add icons to each, but maybe that's not on this issue. Um, so if you look at the, am I confusing different?
1 second, I post the deleted or outdated issue to the chat as well. Um, it's called Add Icons to the submenu items available within Create. If you look to the Zoom chat, there
Yep.
I've posted the link, and if you scroll down to the proposed resolution there is a mock-up.
So for the sake of the recording, this is 3450066. Um, and the proposal was to use the same icon that we have for content in the first column as an icon to identify content types, article and basic page. Um, Forget where does this media icon come from? Is that also here? Yeah. Use this media icon for media types and so on. And this mock-up shows three different things called article. One, I guess, is a content type. One is a block, a custom block. a custom block type, I guess. And one is a media type. So before suggesting that we make any changes, I would like to see um, how much control we have over this, because I think um, that is a menu block in the navigation system.
It is. That's the content menu. If you go to menus,
Structure menus, yes, thank you.
yeah, and then
And
to
then,
content,
yep.
and that's basically the structure at hand. It's the content navigation block.
And then, so it's already, and again, like any menu, this is something that the site administrator can change. We can add or remove things. We can disable menu links. So exactly what items are here? Article, basic page, recipe, article, basic page, recipe, document, image, and user, document. Okay, so it's the things in the content menu under the create link, under the create item. So this is node add article, node add page, node add recipe, media add document, and media add image. So what would happen if I rearranged this menu? Suppose I put content under the create menu, and then all the content types I made children, whoops, of content. And then I put media as a child of create and put document and image as children under that. Let me save that. Um, okay. So does that affect the navigation block? Drum roll, please. I have not done this experiment before, so I don't know what's going to happen.
You already see it.
Ta-da. So that is not the same as the mock-up suggested in this issue, but it's functionality we already have. If the site owner wants this sort of hierarchical structure, they can get it. Um,
Interesting idea. I, could you maybe move the media and the content out of the create so that they are back top level menu items?
I really dislike this expand on hover.
Yeah,
Ah, so let's see if I move this
yeah,
out
as a top
like
level
so.
item. Yeah, and media as well.
Well, let's just try one. Under create, we just have media and user. Presumably, if I move media out as well, that's interesting. Oh, I'm sorry. I should be looking at the create menu. It just has user. But content and media are now top level items in this column. So I guess this whole block is based on the content menu. And the content menu has a content item. That's not at all confusing. And whatever hierarchical structure you have, if you had another level of nesting, other two levels of nesting, under content, article, I guess it does not do unlimited nesting, but
Um, Strictly speaking, sub menus are at least defined in the um, design system. So one more should be technically possible. So basically, the nesting you have with recipes should be possible, strictly speaking.
so there are menus and then there are menu blocks. This is a menu block based on a menu. Um, and let's see, can we actually edit that menu block?
You have to go no, to configuration.
I I think I want to look here. And I want to look for menu blocks, main navigation, user account menu.
Yeah, that is
Yes.
in navigation layout
Okay, so
under
I have to go.
configuration
Thank you.
and then user interface and then navigation blocks
Okay.
and there then enable edit mode.
Can I can change this to three levels of nesting, but I can't do any more. Whereas if I go back to a typical menu block, I have more options. So this is a somewhat restricted menu block because um, you know, they don't want to allow arbitrary levels of nesting because the design just doesn't handle it.
Can we have those second level menus automatically expanded? Is that supported? So
Good question. So let's see. That's not where I wanted to go. Configuration, navigation blocks, edit mode. So is there an option here to show things? The initial visibility level, if I make that 2, I think that's the right option.
No, that refers to basically which level should be visible, but then the top level would be invisible with content media create, I
Hmm.
suppose.
with menus, we have that checkbox in the menu item.
Right. So maybe I should be looking over here. Um, and I guess I want to make these expanded by default.
Yeah, so just this is behind edit for maybe for article.
Uh,
Reset or add child.
Display settings.
Yeah, there.
There we go. And then that was under content.
Content.
That seems to be ignored.
Or maybe you need to save the menu itself as well.
I don't think so, but I'll give it a try. Um, And then article is not expanded by default.
It could be respected. I don't see it. Like it could be could be a feature that could be added.
I agree. And both of these things that we've looked at come under the heading of don't add more options, just use the options you already have. So the system is already pretty flexible. I don't feel strongly about it because, well, but I haven't done much site building lately. I'm not the one in charge of this. So maybe that's why. I don't feel strongly about it, but I think it's probably a good idea to give site builders the option to have this expanded by default, and the setting is right there in the menu system, so why not respect that? I don't know. Do other people think it's an important change, Simo?
I think it would make sense to allow uh, site builders to define those, like so that it would respect the existing setting.
Yeah, I agree. It makes sense. So my question is sort of, is this nice to have, or is this something we really should do?
Uh, it's not a priority, I think.
Okay.
But it's broken basically. It doesn't do what is the setting saying, what the setting is saying. So it's
Yeah.
you check show as expanded, and if you go to the menu that is relying on that setting, it is not expanded, so it's broken.
Mm.
Right. And oh, I guess let's just cancel this and go back to the block layout. Um, and let's go to the admin theme. And let's add a menu item. Here we go. So let's add a regular menu block. Um, Not in the navigation, but in the page body. Do, 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 do. And where did that go? So that's not what I was hoping for. Did I miss some configuration? Here we go. Menu levels, number of levels to display. Ooh, I have this option to expand all menu links. But I'm a little surprised. Okay, so I can do that and see the full structure. Um, Sort of this isn't pretty. The 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 Claro theme does not sort of make this a pretty listing of the menu, but it works. But I'm surprised though. Menu, where did menu levels go? Here it is, collapsed. Oh, if I set the initial visibility level. So Ralph, you think that's going to only display lower menus? Let's see what happens. Yeah, Ralph is right. That was the wrong setting. Oh, the menu is only visible if the menu link for the current page is at this level or below it. Use level 1 to always display this menu. And the number of levels to display is unlimited. What if I change that? Yeah, I'm surprised that a standard menu block doesn't show as expanded when in the menu. Well, maybe this thing wasn't shown as expanded. Ah, that's the problem. Okay. So if the top level item and the second level item are both marked as expanded, then standard menu block does respect that setting, and we see the children of article.
Oh,
It's sort of a nuisance that you have to set that for every single menu item. It would be nice, it would be convenient for this current purpose if, in addition to the enabled column, there were an additional column for expanded, or if I had something in the drop button that would do it. But you do have control over it. Go ahead. Okay, I thought someone was.
cool. Oh, I just wanted to ask, or could you scroll up again, please?
Yep.
If I understand it correctly, it's basically in Claro in this view a expanded menu item illustrated as a empty circle, while a still collapsed one is filled.
Uh, that's what it looks like.
But because from my understanding, blocks doesn't have any children and files neither.
Um, so I would say the default is the filled in circle, and the open circle indicates something that that does have children and is expanded.
Okay.
At least that's what it seems. We could look at the CSS rules. And maybe on the list item, not on the, yeah, item dash dash expanded. So it has this menu item expanded. I, I missed this first line. It's dot menu item expanded is the selector, and the list style is circle. If I disable that rule, then it becomes filled in. So that class gets added apparently here and here, but not to any of the others.
For media and okay.
If I were to show media as expanded, so anyway,
Hmm.
how did we get here? This is a standard menu block. Um, it respects the settings in the menu of what's expanded and what's not. The block has configuration options, including one to expand all menus. Um, this is also a menu block. It doesn't have quite the same options as a standard menu block, but it's basically using the same structure.
Was it me who lost sound, or did everyone else?
Um, I haven't noticed any problems with, but then I've been talking.
Yeah, it's working again.
Okay. All right, so I think the comment on this issue, I'm sorry, not, yes, this issue, is that we already have this functionality. So um, perhaps we can close it as works as designed, although I always like to give people a chance to reply before actually closing the issue. Um, but I think we can close this as works as designed and put in a screenshot um, showing, well, not how I have it currently, but um, if we were to go back to what the menu structure was before, um, and and generate a screenshot with that. I think we could do that. And then secondly, I think we should open a new issue about having this respect the expanded items. Ralph, go ahead.
Um, from my personal perspective, I wouldn't close the issue because there's still a problem. First, uh, you would have basically, if you go with basically that grouping approach, you would still have to remove the create top level menu item and move all the add pages underneath as childs for each of the corresponding top level menu items. And then you also have the problem, um, all those are pages in the navigation, but strictly speaking, in here is a CTA for creating a new page. So by simply adding, for example, basic page and article underneath content, it might seem I'm going to the article page, not to the add article page, and therefore it is not necessarily clear that something is created there. Because what otherwise you have with a top level menu item that create the context is different. And then by moving, for example, yeah, the article and basic page underneath content, you also then have the problem accessing the overview page becomes more cumbersome. And in the context of content, I consider it important. And that way you have or have to know that you're able to click the heading in the submenu called content and the heading in the media submenu called media, and that leads you to the list page for that entity type. So going with what we already have in Drupal core opens other problems from my perspective.
Well, remember, I did a lot of rearranging
Yeah.
of this menu. These things initially were under the create item, and if I put them back where they belong, I think that removes a lot of the confusion you're talking about. Actually, let's.
Uh, you mean keep the top level menu item media and move it also a group or let's say child of the create top level menu item also called media. And underneath that, do I understand you correctly there?
So let's see. This is admin content. So this is the way. Well, it used to be um, a flat list under create, and I moved the content and media links under there. Probably what I should have done to avoid the confusion you're talking about is made this one a link to node add. Can I? I can't change this one. So what I should have done was, ooh, I really haven't used this feature. Um, so let's see, I want to move article up there, basic page there, recipe there,
And
move
content back to
this.
the top level. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
And I should do the same thing for media, but I
Yeah.
think this gives the idea. So now if I go to the create menu, um, so I guess is overview hard coded? That becomes a link to node add, and this becomes a link to node add article. That makes sense.
Could you click the overview? What the okay. Yeah, that would be actually good. And Simo also wanted to add something.
It was about, I was thinking instead of opening a follow-up issue about it could have been mentioned in the current issue that it would be a good idea for allowing to expand because then it would be doing the grouping. But it's not be a follow-up issue just as well.
Yeah, that would sort of be repurposing the current issue to respecting the expanded option on the menu item. Um, so that's also an option.
Um, The only nitpick I would have with your suggestion here, I would remove the create from create content and simply.
Uh, True. And I mainly did that because I wanted to avoid confusion as I was
Ah, yeah.
rearranging things
Okay, yeah, okay.
in the menu.
That's true. Okay.
So anything else to say on this issue? Go ahead, Ralph.
I think the only thing I would still add to the group is basically again the icon as a visual anchor. Not on every menu item for the add pages, but for the group label, I still would do it. Otherwise, you just have to read again.
So let's see. How would that work? I mean, sort of the point I've been making is that, all of this is something that the site administrator has control over just by um, changing this menu. Um, so that sort of doesn't work well with the idea of automatically adding icons. Um, sort of the menu system doesn't know how to do that. Is that what you had in mind, or
Yeah.
did you have some other mechanism?
Um, I haven't aligned it too closely with basically the with the menu system. I was simply thinking about adding visual cues alongside text. But yeah, at the moment it's not possible. And looking at the DOM in the navigation, it's the icon is adding of the icon is accomplished via the data icon text equals in, for example, media. The icon shortcut is me.
Oh, here, let me. Where's media?
Oh, it's hidden under create, I guess.
All right, because I didn't put that back where it came from. So let's look at another one. Let's look at blocks and inspect that.
It's if you scroll up to the button, it's on the button element. It's not a button.
Here, the SVG, I don't see the button element. Why am I not seeing it?
Because it's not a blocks doesn't have a sub menu. That way, it isn't a button, but a link.
Okay, so it's this anchor link. And does it have,
Data dash icon dash text equals to, is it B1 or BL? It's BL.
I think it's this SVG. So it's not added by CSS. It's here in the HTML. If I were to hide this, yeah, it goes away.
Oh, because if you one line up, one element up, if you see you have data icon text in the last at the end of the second line, in the fourth line, third line, and at the beginning of the fourth line, that data icon text equals BL.
Data icon text equals BL.
That's if there is a on that menu, if there is a custom link that doesn't have an icon assigned to it, then it will show the first characters of that. Mm.
And let's see, are there any rules associated to the data icon text? What's this pseudo element? Data Drupal admin styles, data admin toolbar, but I don't see uh, data icon text.
I can quickly show what it looks like if it's the kind of if it's using the data icon text. I have a site that's showing that.
Can you put a link in the Zoom chat?
It's needs to be logged in. It's a
Okay,
product site.
so shall I let you share?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so this site we have CRCOME. So this is this menu is from group. This one is using group domain and group menu, and well, it's a group site with different additional modules. So this is not a regular menu. This is a custom menu for a specific group or several groups actually. But yeah, so this one doesn't have those because it's not the normal menu. So then it replaces the icons here with the initials. So that's what it looks like with that icon.
Okay, so the data menu icon text or whatever it was is a fallback in case the menu item isn't available.
Yeah, or if the icon for that menu item doesn't exist.
So I did a search for Drupal menu icon, and it turns up two different modules, simple menu icons and UI icons. Ah, UI icons. But this doesn't say a lot about what it does. It's a port of menu icons, which has been greatly simplified to remove all but the most basic of features. Um,
UI icons is basically based instead on the icon API, and pduru and mocktofu are involved there. And I guess pduru is also involved in the icon API and is a core maintainer.
so this module allows you to upload an image in the menu items configuration form. After uploading the image, the icon data will be added to the menu links options array. When a menu link goes through the theme layer, it will receive an extra class, which by default is used to attach the images as a background image to the corresponding menu item. These classes are also compatible with Nice Menu and a different contrib module. So I haven't tried either of these modules, but I think the idea of having a contrib module that allows you to add icons to a menu link is a possibility, um, and then what? And then you could do that in the content menu for things under the create list. You could add icons here and here. Um, and then if all goes well, you would get those icons under here. So we only have 10 minutes left in this meeting. That's certainly not enough time for experimentation with the contrib module. But that might be something that we can get with the contrib module, in which case there is less of an argument for adding it to core, and it would be less automatic, but it would be something under the control of the site builder.
Also, there probably are use cases where there are limited number of content types, but the site administrator wants to add different icon for different content types. So that would also be possible with some contrib module maybe.
Right. So uh, I'm willing to add a comment to the issue on grouping unless someone else wants to do it.
I already have a draft for the one from last week that isn't completely finished, and I could simply add the addition from today.
Okay.
But also the point what I've mentioned in the beginning of the meeting, if where is it? I think the points are still valid in regards of grouping that were raised by Ifrik and Catch that we haven't considered yet.
Okay, so let's have a look at those comments. This is the right issue, isn't it? Grouping or
Yeah,
prioritization.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So recent comments or
Yeah,
older ones?
number 2, number 4, and number 6.
All right, so older comments. I guess it's not that old. This idea had, comment two, this idea had come up previously as different issue. Add item to the toolbar, including input from the UX team. Some questions that had come up with that. Do content creators need to know what entity type they are creating, or do they just need to know how it's called on their site? And that's a point that I raised last week too. Second, how does it look if there are so many items that the list is longer than the screen? And contrib and custom modules should also be able to add their links to the list.
Yeah, the last point is, for example, for the storage module we've mentioned last week as well.
So I would say that the second and third points are really sort of non-issues because, again, this is a menu block. This whole region is a menu block. And we're just talking about what comes underneath the create item on this menu. And that is under the control of the site administrator. So other modules can add links, and then the site administrator can decide whether or not to put them in this menu. And the site administrator is responsible for not putting 1,000 links under there because that would break the layout. So at least that's my initial thoughts on this. Any other opinions on it? Go ahead.
But could you go please back to the menu setting? Yeah. But how do you, in that view, let's say, let's take that example. You have a site with, let's say, 50 different content types. Not those three like article, basic page, and recipe, but way, way more. And you have also 5 to 10 different roles. How do you manage the visibility to the different roles and manage that is because or would you basically restrict the amount for all the roles in the same manner? Or would it make sense, for example, that a admin has more content types available there than or different content types than, for example, a content editor in team A and or a content editor in team B? That is not really possible at the moment in that menu settings page, isn't it?
You could replace the block. So I think one of the from the way back discussions about this kind of the background discussions for the navigation was that it was derived from the kind of the user research on how to build different kinds of menus for different user groups on a site. So that was kind of I think the starting point for designing the
Yep.
navigation module. So in that sense, it should be, it's kind of not meeting the original goal if it's completely, if you're not able to assign different blocks for different user groups or different roles. But I think the site I showed with those different, it had per user group, I think, different content. But then again, it was using group module.
Okay.
And it might also be possible to use visibility settings to show or hide some items by user role.
And also they get hidden if you don't have permission to create, I think. If you don't have create new article permission, then you are not shown that link, I think.
Uh-huh. And sort of to directly respond to Ralph's question, if you have 50 different content types, I can't tell you what the answer is, but the site administrator has control over this menu. They can create, Team A, Team B, Team C items under create, and then put 20, 10, and 20 items under each of those. Whatever makes sense for your site, you have the flexibility to do it with the limitations that you only have this many levels of nesting.
Yeah.
Under create, you have a group and an item. You can't have a subgroup under media. But subject to that limitation, you have a lot of flexibility.
Yeah.
We only have a couple of minutes left. You wanted to look at some of these other
Yeah.
comments?
Number 4.
If the items are not grouped, then they would need to be listed alphabetically rather than having them sorted by type. Um, Again, this is ignoring the way that it works, that it's based on that menu. Grouping them by type and using that as a heading provides some structure and a way to break down long lists, but does the content creator need to know what is the entity type? That seems to me like um, the same as this comment, which as I said, I agreed with. On many sites, different types of content might belong together. If we wanted to take it one step further, then we could provide an icons to differentiate nodes, taxonomy terms, user accounts as visual clue for those who do not know what is what. And that, I think, is basically the idea of this issue, to add icons. Um,
One question to circle back to the initial from last week's, because last week, I guess it was you, Benji, who said you would prefer a flat list over a grouped list. And the question now, today, we try to accomplish basically the grouping via Drupal core functionality that's already in place. So everything works out of the box. But the question would be how to achieve basically the option, an easy option to switch between a flat and a grouped display. That would be also still open from my perspective and not covered yet.
well, is this not easy enough? Just rearranging items in this menu?
That would be manual, okay.
Yeah. So we are at the hour.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
I guess we can continue to consider options here, but I think the existing flexibility is something that should be brought up on this issue.
So to summarize, basically the suggestion would be simply um, to use as the basic setting the grouping functionality that's already in place, and that basically Drupal should create a submenu called content forwarding to a node ad, and as childs then the dedicated ad pages for different content types, and in a similar way for the rest for other entity types.
Yeah,
And
I don't know whether Drupal should create these menu links by default. The admin can do that. Yeah, if the install profile were to have 20 different content types, then maybe it would be a good idea for the install profile to create these menu links. But with the install profiles we have, standard and umami, I don't think the grouping is all that necessary.
yeah, but at the moment you out of the box you get a flat list,
Yes.
and that isn't in the current form not good. And so if that grouping issue continues, then instead of that flat list, it should be basically in a way laid out like you mocked it up here with create, then content as child, and then article as child of content.
Okay,
Isn't
that's worth considering, but that wouldn't be core navigation module functionality. That would just be in the install profiles, and the install profiles are probably
Oh,
going
okay.
away in this age of recipes.
Oh no, I understand what you mean. Okay.
Okay, we're a couple of minutes past the
Tricky.
hour. We can continue to discuss. I won't be at the meeting next week, but I'll be available on Slack if you have questions for me. And of course, you're welcome to use the Zoom link next week if you want to continue this discussion then.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
Have a nice weekend, everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.